My name is Jeff Wilson. By day, I invest in tech companies, and at night, I invest in sports cards. Join me on my journey to profit from the hobby we all love. Hello, sports card investors. I'm Jeff Wilson, and we have a lot of important things to talk about in today's episode. I just got back from Beckett's Sports Card Industry Summit in Las Vegas. Literally just got back from Las Vegas a couple hours ago. And that is a meeting of 400 industry leaders in the sports card world. You got manufacturers there, you got people from the NBA and the NFL and Major League Baseball, and you've got a bunch of local card shop owners and all of the prominent breakers go to this thing. A lot of interesting conversations. I've got some news to share with you from that. I also have a really important story to tell you today. This is a story about some boxes that I opened with my son a couple days ago. And as an investor, what I found inside these boxes scares the heck out of me. These are brand new boxes, a brand new set that just hit the market and is extremely popular. And what I found is absolutely scary. It is a warning to all of us. But before I get to that story, because that is a little bit of a sad story, before I get to that story, I want to talk about something good. And I got to tell you, honestly, I'm feeling a little bit giddy right now. I'm pretty happy at the moment because, as you may know, last week I did an episode telling you cards under $10 that I thought you should buy now, that I thought had the chance to go up in value. And the very first card that I talked about during that episode was Mason Rudolph, the backup quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I said during that episode, Big Ben looks shaky. He doesn't look quite right. And I think it's only a matter of time till he goes down with an injury and starts missing some games. And Mason Rudolph, he's the next thing in Pittsburgh. They believe in him. He's got a real opportunity to move into the starting role. And look what happened this past Sunday. And I've been getting a bunch of messages over the last couple of days from folks on Twitter, from folks on Discord, from folks on Instagram saying they saw the episode last week. They had bought some cards. I had one guy tell me he already flipped all the cards that he bought. He literally bought cards on Friday and he sold them on Monday for a 300 to 400% profit. I had other guys telling me that their cards are up 600% because then on Tuesday it was announced that Big Ben's actually out for the whole season with elbow surgery. But then I've also heard from some others who said, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't get on those cards sooner. Truthfully, I didn't expect it to happen quite as quickly as it did. You know, I thought Big Ben would have some more games in front of him. But it was crazy that happened. And not only did it happen with Big Ben, but the next guy who I mentioned was Teddy Bridgewater. And yes, I know it's Teddy Bridgewater, not Terry Bridgewater. Apologies for saying Terry Bridgewater. It is Teddy Bridgewater. And Teddy Bridgewater had the chance to come in for Drew Brees. He'll be the starting quarterback in New Orleans for the next 6 weeks at least. Now, I have full confidence that Drew Brees is going to come back at some point and Teddy Bridgewater is going to be back on the bench. But Teddy Bridgewater has an opportunity right now to showcase himself. And if he does well, he could be competing for a starting job in another market sometime next year. I believe his contract with New Orleans is only a 1-year deal. He can leave as a free agent after this season. He can get a starting job somewhere else if he looks really good these 6 weeks. So if you bought Teddy Bridgewater cards, this is an important time for him to hopefully see that type of value increase that Mason Rudolph has seen. I think both of those guys are in real good position. And then today, I found out that Cam Newton may not start in the next game. And two of the other guys I talked about during last week's show were Cam Newton's backups. I talked about Will Grier. I talked about Kyle Allen. One of those guys is going to be likely starting for Carolina this Sunday. And if not this Sunday, I think they're going to see the field at some point this season. So if you got on those guys, Kyle Allen or Will Grier, here's your opportunity to see those types of gains. So, I thought those things were going to happen. I didn't think they were going to happen quite as quickly as they did, but I'm kind of happy they did. And if you listen to me, congratulations. Now, it did hurt me though, in one respect. If you remember at the beginning of last week's show, I said that I was going to run a contest and that the winner of the contest was going to pick out any card that I mentioned in last week's show and I would buy them that card. Well, at the time, I thought that was going to be a $10 card. And now some of the cards that I mentioned in the show, are up to $50, up approaching $100 at this point in time. So it's going to end up costing me more money that this stuff all happened. But you know what? I'm happy. I'm happy for those of you who took the advice and bought the cards, and I will gladly pony up the extra money to buy one of you a card. By the way, if you have not entered that contest yet, there is still time, but I'm going to be picking the winner this Friday. So you got to do it now. And the way you enter the contest is you go to my website, sportscardinvestor.com. And if you scroll down just past the header area, there is a link that says get free sports card investing tips by email. Just put your email in there to subscribe, totally free. And I promise I'm not going to spam you with a whole bunch of emails. Just put your email in there, and then you must be subscribed to me on either YouTube or Apple Podcasts. And I will pick somebody random this Friday who put their email in and who's subscribed to me, and you will get the chance to pick out any of the cards that I talked about last episode. So please do enter if you haven't already. So at this point in time, people have been asking me the last couple of days, is it too late on Mason Rudolph? Is it too late on Teddy Bridgewater? Is it too late on Will Grier and Kyle Allen now that these things have happened? My answer is it really just depends how they do. Like it's not too late. If Mason Rudolph looks like a good starter this year and actually could lead the Steelers to the playoffs, then his cards will continue to go up in value. If he looks a little bit shaky and everybody is just counting down the days till Big Ben gets back next year, hoping he comes back, who knows if he actually will or not. I could see him retiring. I don't know. But the question really is Mason Rudolph the long-term solution? If he is the long-term solution, his cards will go up further, so you should still buy them. If he's not the long-term solution, then, perhaps not. Perhaps now would be a good time to sell if you got in on them last week. Of course, we don't know that. We don't know what's going to happen. And we also don't know how Teddy Bridgewater is going to do, nor do we know how the Carolina quarterbacks are going to do. But there is a chance, and there is a chance that all of those guys will continue to appreciate, just like we've seen over the last few days. If you were too late on those guys and you don't feel good about getting in on them, another guy who I would really think about is Ryan Finley of Cincinnati. Andy Dalton is not a fan favorite in Cincinnati. Cincinnati has struggled, for a while with Andy Dalton as their quarterback. They've never gotten far in the playoffs. They just got blown out last weekend. I mean, they looked bad. They got blown out. And I think if their season goes in the tank, AJ Green's not going to be back for a long time. I think at some point in time, there's going to be a lot of fan pressure on the coaches in Cincinnati to try Ryan Finley out and see what he can bring to the table. So if not this year, then I think next year. So Ryan Finley is kind of the next guy I have circled. And if you haven't gotten in on him yet, I might consider doing it. Now, right now, most of the cards that are out for him are his college cards. His pro cards will be coming out soon. So I would probably try to pick up some of his pro cards if you're willing to wait. Of course, if you had waited on some of the other guys I talked about last week, you would have waited too long. So who knows? But in the case of Ryan Finley, get some of his cards, and let's hope that the Bengals make a quarterback change at some point here in the future. All right, so let's talk about the Sports Card Industry Summit. I mentioned that a few minutes ago, a gathering of about 400 people in Vegas, really good conversations the last couple of days. A couple of things I learned that I thought were important for you to know. First of all, Topps has extended their exclusive deal with Major League Baseball through at least the year 2025. So we now know that there will be no diversification in manufacturers until after 2025 with baseball cards. And what that means is Panini is feeling the pressure to extend their deal with the NBA and their deal with the NFL to continue to get exclusive deals with them as well. They've got them locked up for the next few years, but they don't have them locked up all the way to 2025, but they're going to try to get them locked up all the way to 2025. So what that probably means is you're not going to see new manufacturers coming into any of these sports. From an investment standpoint, I know a lot of people don't like that. I actually think it's okay. I actually think it's good, because the problem is if you have all of these different companies producing cards, you have so many different sets of cards that you're kind of watering down the value of any one particular set. So I actually personally like there being less sets of cards so that there's more demand around the cards that are printed. So I kind of like the fact it's just Topps in Major League Baseball and it's just Panini in basketball and football. So for me, from an investor standpoint, I actually think it's good news. From a collector standpoint, a lot of people don't like it. I totally get it. But that is the reality we're dealing with, and that's the reality we're probably going to continue to deal with for some time to come. There were lots of conversations, and I brought up a lot of these conversations about supply and overprinting. I actually directly asked Panini executives some tough questions because I am worried that, the one thing that could take the card industry down would be if overprinting occurs to a, extreme degree and we get back into the junk wax era, like what happened in the late 80s and early 90s. And then all of a sudden all the cards go down in value. So that could really kill the whole investment thing. So I ask a lot of questions about that. Now, before I tell you what they said, I want to tell you the story because it's actually really relevant to this. The story that I told you about at the beginning of the show, this is a story about boxes of cards, but the implications of this story go way beyond the one set of cards or this one type of boxes of cards. This is a bigger picture issue that could become an issue for sports card investors in any sport, in any brand. So I really want you to listen to this story no matter what you collect. But what this story is based on is this: the Panini's Contenders draft picks, which, as you probably know, hit the market a couple of weeks ago. Now, these are blaster boxes. These are the boxes that you can find in Walmart and Target. And of course, a lot of people are really, really excited about this set because it's the first official Zion cards, right? It's the first Zion cards that's a full release set, and you've got other great guys, RJ Barrett, and you got Zion autos in here. You got Ja Morant autos in here. So, there's a lot of good stuff theoretically in these boxes. So I bought 40 of these boxes. I brought them home to my son, my 8-year-old son, Reeves. And I said, hey, let's open these boxes and let's film it, because if we get any really big Zion cards, I want to show it to my audience. They're probably excited about, the new Zion cards. Every investor is, right? Because that's going to be so crazy with all these sets coming out with Zion, and what prices are they going to sell for? What's the secondary market going to bring? So I said, let's film this. And if there's anything really fun that happens, I'll take a little clip of it and show it to my audience during one of these shows. But as we started to open the boxes, our experience took a much different turn than what I thought it was going to be. And so much so that we actually only opened 20 of the 40 boxes. We opened half of them before I cut it off. Before I said to my son, we cannot open any more of these. We actually have to stop because what's going on is crazy and it worries me and it's scary. And I don't want to open any more. I want to share this with you, share this with the audience. So I'm going to play the recording here in just a minute. There are 3 themes that I want you to take away from this recording, that I want you to hear or see. Now, 2 of them are going to be very obvious. As we go through the recording, it's going to become very obvious what 2 of the things that are happening are. The third is a little more subtle. We'll see if you pick up on it. But after I play this recording, I'm going to come back on and I'm going to explain all 3. And I'm going to talk about why it's not just an issue for this particular box of cards, but it's actually an issue for every box of cards in our industry in general. So here we go. This recording is 5 minutes long. Enjoy this, and I'm going to come back on the end to talk about the impact of this. Here we go. All right, so I have 40 blaster boxes of Panini Contenders draft picks in front of me. I am down here in my man cave, and all I need is somebody to help me open these.
Oh, sorry, I'm late.
Ah, there he is. There's my 8-year-old son, Reeves, and we are going to bust through these 40 boxes to see what hits we get. Boom, got the first one. It's not a numbered card, but it is the first Zion.
It's a nice game day.
So we're going to have a Zion count going here to show you the number of Zions that we pull. All right, there we go. My auto is Eric Holman of the Mississippi State Bulldogs. Eric Holman is my first auto. Oh, look at that. Reeves just got 150 Panini points. All right, so this blaster box, I went straight for the auto. I went the blast pack, and the auto that I got was an Amir Coffee. Went to the Golden Gophers.
Amir what? Hey! a school color Zion.
All right, we got a Zion. That's our second Zion so far. We're 4
School
boxes
colors.
in. We got a second. Wow, okay, so we got another 150 Panini points. Got another Zion. There we go. We got a lot of Zion in this product.
Another school
We are
colors.
4 boxes in with 3 Zions. Now, granted, it is just a base. It is a school colors. Oh boy, this is crazy. This is crazy.
Oh, well, at least this time it's a better.
This is crazy. So he has literally opened up 3 blaster boxes. He has gotten 3 Panini rewards, which probably means no autos. Oh my gosh, Panini printed so many of these that they could not get enough autos to fill these boxes. Oh my gosh, I got Panini points too. Wow. 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 Oh, you might have an auto. Oh, you got your first auto.
Wait, it's a blue.
Oh, that's nice. It's a blue foil.
Rookie card.
Benny Boatwright of the USC Trojans. Benny Boatwright. Oh my gosh.
Again.
Oh, Panini. 4 of the 5 boxes you've opened have had Panini points instead of an auto. To get another Zion. All right, I got my next auto. It's a Robert Franks auto from the Washington State. Robert Franks.
If this box has Panini points in it, I'll be so mad.
Oh my gosh.
But this time it's 400 points.
Reeves got more Panini points. Oh my God, I got Panini points too.
Of course you did.
Instead of an auto.
We have over 1,000.
Yeah, we have over 1,000 Panini points because there's no autos in these retail boxes because they printed so many. But when you're expecting autos, because you're supposed to get, look at this, 1 autograph per box. No, not really. Your chances of getting Panini points at this point in time
Or
having
like 75?
more than 50%. You have more than a 50% chance of
Probably
getting Panini
more than
points.
75.
All right, I did get an auto in this one.
Of course you did.
Taquan Jeffries of Tulsa. Another Zion Williamson game day ticket. Man, Panini, I see what you're doing, Panini. You're putting a Zion, essentially a base card, right? A game day ticket type of card. You're putting one of these in every other box, Panini. I see what you're up to. We're getting these in every other box. It makes people happy until they realize there's one in every other box, which means that there's, been, I don't know, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of those things printed.
Do I finally have it?
He's finally got an auto. You finally got an auto. He got an
Another
auto.
blue auto.
Fletcher McGee
Wait.
auto. Fletcher McGee auto. There you go. There's your Zion every other blaster box. Zion Williamson right there. Game day ticket. Oh my gosh. More Panini points. More Panini points. More Panini points. Jalen LeCue, another
Just
auto
as
that we
the
just
app
pulled.
crashed.
Jalen LeCue. Oh my gosh.
Organize it. Again. I feel like, oh my gosh.
Okay, so that was the end of the video with my son. And the reason why is at that point in time, I stopped us from opening up any more boxes. We had just opened up 20 of the 40 boxes that I had bought. These boxes were $20 each. So we opened up $400 worth of boxes. And the cards that I pulled out of those boxes that you just saw and that my son pulled out of those boxes, I think if you were to go try to sell them all today, the cumulative value of those cards was probably less than $50, if even, maybe not even that. It was probably the worst return that I have gotten from a box of cards that I have opened since the junk wax era, since the late 80s and the early 1990s. And I realized this as we were going and all that was happening. And so I said, you know what? I am better off selling the last 20 of these sealed boxes on eBay rather than continuing to open them based on this pattern of return that we're seeing. So that is scary. Of course, there are 3 patterns that came up there through the video. The first was very obvious, the Panini points. So in total, we opened 20 boxes of this product, 20 blaster boxes of this Panini Contenders draft picks. And of the 20 boxes, 10 of them had Panini points instead of an auto. And that is despite the fact that on these boxes, it clearly says 1 autograph per box on average. 50% of the boxes did not have an autograph. 10 of 20 did not have an autograph. They had Panini points instead of an autograph. So that was the first thing that obviously has me worried about the supply, how many they have printed, right? The second thing, also obvious, was the number of Zions they printed. They printed so many Zions, and what this means is the Zion base cards are going to be absolutely worthless. And I worry that this trend could continue throughout the basketball season. Are they going to do the same in Prism? That would be a complete disaster. Are the Zion base cards in Prism going to be as common as they were in these boxes? If Panini does that, because they know people are hunting for the Zions and they know they want the Zions, and they also know that they printed a lot, so they don't have enough inventory to fill all of these boxes with autos and everything like that. So they're trying to make people happy by putting Zions, but what they're doing is they're killing the value of the card that everybody is chasing. And so will the secondary market figure this out? When will it figure it out? I don't know, but I'm worried that we're going to have a crash landing here with the value of Zion. And maybe, hopefully, it's just this product, but it makes me worried about what we're going to see, in the following products for the rest of the year. Now, the third thing that you might have picked up on, it was a little bit more subtle. The autos that we did pull, we pulled 10 autos. I went back and looked after the video. Not a single one of the 10 autos that we pulled was a guy drafted in the NBA draft. Not one of those guys was drafted in the first or second round of the NBA draft. Not one. So we pulled 10 autos from guys, many of whom didn't even get a sniff from the NBA. Some of those guys who we pulled went straight to Europe, were never even talked to by an NBA team. Yet we're pulling those autos out of this product. So to recap, $400 worth of boxes, not a single auto of an NBA player, despite the fact that you're supposed to get 1 autograph per box. That means that this product is ridiculously bad, at least in blaster form. It is ridiculously bad. So first and foremost, do not, whatever you do, walk into a Walmart and Target and buy this product. It is just not a good quality product. But what worries me more is what are the implications? What are the implications for what's going to happen later this year when the sets that really matter, Prism, when that comes out, Optic, the actual contenders, what's going to happen to those sets? What are the print runs going to be like? Is there going to be a Zion every other box? Are there going to be no quality autos because they printed so many? Are the parallels going to be non-existent? Which, by the way, they were absolutely non-existent in these 20 boxes. I didn't get a single serial numbered card. Not one. Not one serial numbered card. Not one. In 20 blaster boxes. I don't know. But, I happen to be with executives from Panini at this conference the last couple of days. So I asked them this question. I actually went directly to them and I told them this story and I asked them the question. I said, this was my experience with these boxes. What can we expect from the other releases this year? Here's what they said. They said, first of all, because this product, the Panini Contenders Draft Picks product, comes out so early, they had trouble getting the autos back from some of the good players. They didn't get the autos back in time, and so their autos didn't make it into the boxes that they would have liked to have put in the boxes. Okay, I buy that to a degree. Now, I say to a degree because I don't remember Panini Contenders Draft Picks in previous years being this bad. So I do think it is worse this year. I do think they printed a lot more this year and it is worse, but I get it. It is the first product. They assured me that the future products that they come out with this year, starting with NBA Hoops, which is coming out next, and that is the one that will have their actual jerseys, the NBA team jersey. So that's a very important release as well. They assured me that there are going to be more autos of better players in those products, and especially ones as we get later in the year, like Optic and Prism and that type of thing. They assured me of that. And so that makes me feel a little bit better, but I need to see it, right? I need to see that that's actually the case. I need to see that and not have this type of experience again. They did admit that they are printing more than prior years. And I get it. Look, Panini is stuck a little bit between a rock and a hard place here. This industry demand is going up so fast right now. People are jumping into sports cards like crazy at the moment. People want to buy. The local card store owners at this industry summit event that I went to, they were all complaining that they can't get enough product. They're all telling the Panini people, you got to make more, you got to print more, you got to ship us more. So Panini has pressure on them to produce more and more product. And of course, they make more and more money when they produce more and more product. So they have multiple pressures on them to produce more and more product, but they also do know in the back of their minds about the trouble that the industry got in the late 80s and early 90s. And I do think they sincerely want to avoid that. The only question is how, and are they really going to be able to avoid it, or are they ultimately going to give into the pressures of the current moment demand? And what will that mean a few years from now? I'm still overall very optimistic about sports cards from an investing standpoint for the next few years, because I think that the attention on the hobby is continuing to go up and up. People are coming in every day. That's going to happen. And, a rising tide rises all boats. And all of us, I think, are going to see the benefits from that from an investment standpoint over the next few years as prices will go up and up and up. The question is what happens beyond that. The question is what happens if collecting sports cards all of a sudden isn't quite as cool as it is becoming today. And of course, that's what happened in the late 90s, or in the early 90s rather. And if they continue to print at the degree they're printing, that may be a really difficult time. So we got to keep a close eye on that. Now, the other thing that they said is that for the high-end products, the national treasures, they're instead of printing a lot more, because they can't, first of all, because they're serial numbered. There's only so many jerseys they can get. There's only so many on-card autos they can get. So they really are restricted to a degree in how much of the higher end products they can print. So instead of printing a lot more of those products, they're going to raise prices. And boxes are going to come out, and boxes are going to be more expensive this year than they were last year because prices are going to go up on those higher end products. From an investment standpoint, that's better. I mean, look, I recognize that a lot of you can't, the buying a box of National Treasures, like you can't justify spending whatever it's going to be this year. I don't know what it's going to be, $1,500, $1,200, $1,500 for a box of National Treasures this year, maybe more. I get it. Like that is not affordable for a lot of people. So that in and of itself is an issue. But from an investment standpoint, I'd rather them raise prices and keep supply limited rather than add a bunch of supply, because in the long run, it will protect those cards better. So what does it mean to me as an investor? What it means to me is I'm going to look more and more towards serial numbered products, more and more, less towards non-serial numbered, more towards serial numbered. Even in the products like a Prism or heck, even a Contenders Draft, where there's a lot of printing going on, I still think the serial numbered in these products is probably pretty decent from an investment standpoint, but you got to go serial numbered. So that's where I'm focused. I'm focused on going serial numbered going forward as much as I can and staying away from the non-serial numbered, including, by the way, Prism Silver, because I'm scared about Prism Silver print runs this year. At this point in time, I think I would rather have a Prism Blue, which is sometimes less valuable than a Prism Silver. The Prism Blues are numbered to 199. I think I'd rather have a Prism Blue than a Prism Silver because of how many more Prism Silvers I think are going to be printed this year. But the Blues are obviously limited because they're going to be serial numbered. Anyway, a lot to think about there, a lot to think about. And so my commitment to you is I'm going to keep an eye on all of this. I'm going to be watching all of this as sets come out this year. I'm going to be trying to figure out print runs. I'm going to keep you guys informed about all of this because this is really, really important stuff. And in order to help keep you guys informed about this, I have some good news. We're going to end on a little bit of good news here. And the good news is I am committed to bringing you guys this show twice a week going forward. I've been so happy with how this show has taken off, with how many of you have subscribed to my YouTube channel and my podcast, with how many of you have joined my free Discord chat server. And if you haven't joined yet, please join. The link is in the show notes. There's a lot of really good conversation every day taking place in that chat server about sports cards and sports card investing. And I just started a Facebook group. For those of you who are not on Discord, there is now a Facebook group. If you go on Facebook and search Sports Card Investor, you can perhaps be the very first person to join my Facebook group because I literally just set it up today. So you can be person number one, but I wanted to present that as an option as well for people who are not on Discord to join and continue the conversation. Because of all of the great conversation and chatter you guys have had, it has motivated me to do 2 of these a week going forward. So every Wednesday afternoon and every Sunday morning, you can expect a new episode from me going forward. I'm excited about it. I'm excited to see this community continue to grow. And if you haven't entered my contest yet from last week, please go to sportscardinvestor.com. Do not forget, enter your email address where it says to get free tips by email, and you can enter my contest. That is all for today. Thank you so much for listening. We'll talk to you with the next episode on Sunday. Take care.